Hello and welcome to my fall TBR. I am so excited to be filming this video, wearing my fall shirt, be talking all things fall. I personally start getting in the fall spirits around late August, and that leads through November until it's Christmas time. So I do have quite a lot of books to talk about, but spanning over 3 months, like it's not that bad. Anyways, like I said, I do have quite a lot of books I'm wanting to talk to y'all about today, so let's go ahead and get started. I will be talking about these in order of genre, and the genre I have the most of is fantasy, so I will be saving that for last, and then at the end I'll talk about the books I do not physically own, like new releases and stuff. Yes, let's go ahead and get started with thriller mystery. I only have 2 of them. Starting off with Someone We Know by Sherry Lapina. I really just like a good mystery thriller all times of the year, but especially in the fall. You know, it's spooky season, but I have been hearing this author's name for the longest time, and this will be my first book by her, so I'm excited to see if I like her. This follows a murder mystery that happens in a suburb of New York. So we're following a lot of people in this neighborhood, I believe, which I really like. And this teenager has been sneaking into houses, and then anonymous letters, which are believed to be sent out by the parents, are going out talking about, hey, my son broke into your home recently, and things are just very messy. So I am excited to dive into this. And the only other book I have for this genre is Middle of the Night by Riley Sager. I have liked a lot of his work, so I'm sure I will with this one as well. And I actually believe this is more of like a summertime thriller because it follows this unsolved mystery of these 2 kids that camped in their like front lawn, and then one of them woke up alone. Yeah, it says during the night someone had sliced the tent open with a knife and taken Billy. He was never seen again. And now we are 30 years later and trying to piece things together. So honestly, this one sounds more scary, but I'm excited for both of these. Moving on to the next genre, and the books I have for them are all pretty similar, and it is historical fiction mystery. So staying on the theme of mystery, but historical books are just so different. Just a few weeks ago, I actually read Stalking Jack the Ripper, and this is a series by Carrie Maniscalco, and I have the next 2 books. So ideally, I would love to get to both of these, Hunting Prince Dracula and Escaping from Houdini. Because this is a series, I won't go into too much detail, but because of the ending of this book, we are in a new location, which I'm very excited about, and we're following 2 characters, our female main character and, you know, her love interest. So this isn't super riveting or original, but I do have a fun time with them, and I'm excited to see what else these 2 characters get up to. And then the next series for this category is the Veronica Speedwell books. This is the first one, A Curious Beginning. I have read the first 2, and I've started collecting others, but I don't have the next book in the series. Actually, let me look up what it even is. Okay, it is called A Treacherous Curse, and yeah, I don't own it, but I read the first 2. Very similar to the series I just talked about. We have 2 main characters just solving different cases. Really not much different. Actually, one thing to note is that in this series, we follow 2 natural historians, which does play a big part, and they just happen to find themselves solving these mysteries. But in the other series, at least as far as I've read, they like want to be in that action, like they're studying to have jobs that revolve around that. Moving on to the 3rd and final genre before all of the fantasy books, and that is romance. I really don't have much. I will start with the series first, and it is Heartstopper. This really has nothing to do with fall being the season, but I have just recently started the series and I'm obsessed with Nick and Charlie, just like everyone else is. So between some of these heavier books, I would love to pick up a graphic novel and just have a fun time. And I warned y'all, this genre was short because the only other book I have on my radar is The 7-Year Slip. I actually read The Dead Romantics by this author maybe 2 falls ago, and I did like her writing, so I think I will like this book even more. Wait, I totally just realized this is technically a fantasy book too, but this is like way more romance, so that's why I'm putting it in this category. But here we're following Clementine, and she is a book publicist, and she's staying in her late aunt's apartment. And this is where the fantasy comes in. She finds this man in the apartment who is living 7 years in the past, which as someone that has not read this yet, obviously, I'm intrigued to see how the author makes this work. But yeah, that just makes me even more intrigued, and I hope I pick this up this fall. That leads us into the fantasy genre, and I'm gonna start with one we all know and love. When you think of a quintessential fall vampire book, what do you think of, and why is it Twilight? Probably because it's nostalgic and engraved in all of our brains, and I have been rereading one of these books every year for the past, I guess, 2 years, because I have read Twilight and New Moon, so that means it's time for Eclipse. Honestly, I kind of would love to just read more than one. The next one is of course Breaking Dawn, which will be easy I think to pick up after this. And then we get into the books that I have never read before, like Life and Death, Midnight Sun, and The Short Second Life of Bree Tanner. I know that's a bit ambitious to read all of them, but we will see. And another fantasy series that I want to read this fall, but I don't necessarily have a number of books I want to read from this series because I know it is so many, but it is the Shadowhunter series. I'm sure if you've watched any of my recent videos, you have heard me talk about them. I'm currently on Clockwork Angel, which is a part of the Infernal Devices trilogy, and I will most definitely be finishing those 3 books in the fall, but I don't know how many of the others I want to read. Just know it's on my radar. I guess I should give y'all a synopsis. I just assume that everyone already knows, but okay, that's kind of a loaded question because there's so many timelines, but I'm just gonna give a summary of what you're getting into with the first book. So, The Mortal Instruments, and it is a young adult urban fantasy book. So you're following these teenagers who are living in the normal world, so they think, until they see some things, and suddenly they are introduced to the world of shadow hunters and downworlders like vampires and werewolves and warlocks and all of those fun things. I don't know what else to say, so I'll leave it there. And on a much different note, another series I want to continue is the book After Legends and Lattes, which is Bookshops and Bone Dust. This is a cozy fantasy series where in this book our 2 fantastical creatures are opening up the first coffee shop in this town and just dealing with all of the conflicts and stuff that, you know, happen with that. Okay, I just confirmed, and this is actually the prequel to Legends and Lattes. So our girl Viv has not opened up the coffee shop yet, and I don't really know what happens here because I don't believe she's opening this bookshop. I listened to this on audio, and I'll probably do the same for this just on a fall day. That sounds like so much fun. I'm so excited. Okay, and then we just have a few more. I will try and go through these quickly. We have A Sorceress Comes to Call. I recently hauled this in one of my latest videos. It is by T. Kingfisher, which I've not read anything by this author, but I think they will be a new favorite. This is a dark reimagining of the Brothers Grimm's The Goose Girl, rife with secrets, murder, and forbidden magic. So this is a fantasy retelling, and I think I read somewhere that it has horror aspects as well. I could be wrong about that, but I mean, that just sounds like fall. Come on now. The next books are by Olivia Blake, and I read One for My Enemy back here, I think last year, and really loved it. So if you haven't read that, I would definitely recommend adding that to your fall TBR, but I hope to read Masters of Death. I just love her books so much. So here we are following Viola, who is a struggling real estate agent and happens to be a vampire. And I believe she's having a hard time selling her house because it is haunted. Yes, the ghost haunting the house has been murdered, and until he can solve the mystery of how he died, he refuses to move on. So obviously, not a lot of people are interested in a house that is being haunted. Enter Fox, who is a medium, and I believe he helps with this whole ghost-infested house situation. So, and please just take a moment to look at this art. I am even more excited because of this. I think that every author should do this. Next up, by the same author, is Gifted and Talented. And I don't know a ton about the fantasy element in this book, but I believe we're following these three siblings after their father died. And I think they're kind of competing for the father's business's inheritance. I don't know, for some reason this is giving like Wizards of Waverly Place to me, but we'll see. The last two books on this fall TBR are a duology I've been putting off for quite some time, and that is Ninth House and Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo. And I also don't know a ton about this. I believe it is set at a college, so it's giving dark academia vibes. Okay, I do remember this now. She's at Yale, and there's like a secret society she gets into, and that's where the magic comes into play. But I'm very scared. Like, there's a quote on the back of this book by Stephen King. So yeah, there's a reason I've been putting these off. Okay, hi, me again. I totally forgot to share the books that I don't own or that are new releases. So I'm back, and I'm gonna start with the thriller and mysteries, starting with Not Quite Dead Yet by Holly Jackson. I believe this is her debut adult mystery thriller, which I'm really excited about because I loved the last book I read by her, which was Five Survive. In this story, our main character is well into her 20s, and she's a part of this wealthy family, and everything changes when she gets brutally attacked the night of Halloween by this mystery person. And the doctors say she has like 7 days to live, and she plans on solving who that mystery person was in those 7 days before she dies. That is a crazy synopsis, but I'm so excited. And the other new release thriller on my radar is Lisa Jewell's Don't Let Him In. And this one is much more vague when it comes to the synopsis, so I don't really understand it, but I think that's their intention. And what I've gathered is there's 3 women whose lives are all changing because of this one man who kind of seems too good to be true, and they're just uncovering some things about the past and figuring out secrets. At least that's what I think it's about. Like I said, it's kind of vague, but I'm excited nonetheless. Then we have Taurus Season and Soul Searching, and these are romance books, but like with a twist. So for example, the Bryn Weaver book is obviously a dark romance. She certainly knows how to do that after her Butcher and Blackbird series. And I believe we kind of have the same setup where both of our main characters kill people and they fall in love somehow. Yeah, that kind of sounds strange, but they're like rom-coms, so it's dark but funny. And then Soul Searching is more paranormal, and this is Lila Sage's first romance book that isn't just like straight up romance, I believe. So I'm very excited that she is branching out. And in this story, our main character, I believe, can talk to ghosts. I think she can her whole life. until now they've stopped speaking to her, and she's like trying to figure out why and get that back, get some answers. And I believe we have a bit of forced proximity with the love interest. I think they're going to be neighbors. And in the synopsis it says that he doesn't know why she's talking to herself. So in this world, I think it's like our everyday life, but we know that she can talk to ghosts. We'll see, but that book comes out on September 30th and Taurus season comes out on the 23rd. And lastly, we have these 3 fantasy books I'm adding to my fall TBR, and Every Spiral of Fate and Holly both come out on the 30th as well. So that is a very big release date. But Alchemy of Secrets comes out October 7th. Both Holly and Every Spiral of Fate are like book number 4 of their series. So I'm not going to be giving you a synopsis, but just know that they're both really good. And I believe Holly is a novella, which I'm super excited about because I think it's like revolved around the holidays. And last but not least, we have The Alchemy of Secrets by Stephanie Garber. And I didn't read Caraval, but I did love Once Upon a Broken Heart. And this seems to be very different than those two in the sense of those seem to be more fairy tale, whimsical fantasy books. And this is like a historical fantasy. So I think this magic world will be unlike anything we've read by her. And we're following a student who has always been convinced that magic is real. It's part of what she is studying. And she meets this local legend who can tell you when you're going to die. And he tells her like, hey, you got like 1 day left. Which is probably not what she wanted to hear, but on the bright side, he was like, unless you find this ancient object, then you're good, you won't die. Like I said, it just seems different, but I'm excited to follow this girl and see if she finds the object in time or not. But yes, those are all of the new releases that I do not physically own that I'm adding to my fall TBR. I will pass this back to Past Sydney to wrap this up. That is all for my 2025 fall TBR. I really hope I get to these. We should check back in and see how I do in like a reset video or something. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching. Let me know where I should start and I will catch you in my next video. Bye guys.